I was 17 years old when I opened my mailbox and saw the envelope from my dream school. It was a crisp October afternoon, the kind of fall day in Ohio where the leaves are all orange and red, and the air smells like cinnamon from the bakery down the street. I remember ripping the envelope open with my hands shaking. My heart was pounding so hard I could feel it in my throat. And then I saw the words. Congratulations. You have been accepted into the early admission program at Northwestern University. I screamed. I actually screamed right there on the sidewalk. A woman walking her dog looked at me like I was crazy, but I didn't care. Northwestern had been my dream since I was a little girl. I used to watch their theater performances on YouTube. I would print out pictures of the campus and hang them on my bedroom wall. My mom thought it was silly. She said I should aim for something more realistic, like community college or maybe a state school close to home. But my mom wasn't the dreamer in the family. My dad was. And my dad had been gone for 3 years. He left when I was 14, just packed a bag one night and drove away. Said he needed space, said he couldn't breathe anymore, said he loved me, but he had to go. I didn't understand it then. I still don't really understand it now. But I held on to his words about dreaming big. He always told me I was destined for something huge. He said I had a light inside me that couldn't be dimmed.
So when that acceptance letter came, I felt like I was finally proving him right. I ran inside the house, holding the letter above my head like a trophy. My mom was in the kitchen, stirring a pot of spaghetti sauce. My stepdad, Tom, was sitting at the kitchen table, reading the newspaper. And my stepsister, Brittany, was on her phone, scrolling through Instagram like she always did. She was 16 then, just a year younger than me, but we couldn't have been more different. Brittany was popular in the way that meant everyone was a little afraid of her. She had this sharp laugh and sharper tongue. She knew how to get what she wanted, and what she wanted most was to be the center of attention. "I got in," I shouted, waving the letter. "I got into Northwestern." The room went quiet. My mom looked at the letter, then at me, then back at the letter. Her expression was weird. Not happy, not proud, almost like she was disappointed. Tom cleared his throat and mumbled something that sounded like, "That's nice." But Brittany just stared at me with these cold blue eyes. She didn't say a word. She just looked at the letter like it had personally insulted her. What I didn't know then was that Brittany had applied to the exact same program at Northwestern, the theater program. We both wanted to be actresses. We both had been dreaming about that school since middle school. But Brittany hadn't gotten in. She got a rejection letter 2 weeks earlier. She never told me. My mom knew. Tom knew. But nobody said a word to me about it. So when I came running in with my acceptance letter, I was celebrating right in front of someone who had just had her own dream crushed. I didn't know. And honestly, even if I had known, I still would have been happy for myself. But maybe I would have been more careful. Maybe I would have celebrated quietly in my room instead of dancing around the kitchen. But I didn't know. And that's the part that still makes my chest hurt when I think about it. That night, I went to bed floating on air. I left the acceptance letter on my desk. It was right there next to my lamp and my stack of library books. I remember looking at it before I turned off the light. I remember thinking my life was finally starting. The next morning, the letter was gone. I searched everywhere. Under my bed, in my backpack, in the trash can in the bathroom. I tore my room apart. Nothing. I asked my mom if she had seen it. She said no. I asked Tom. He shrugged and said maybe I lost it. I asked Brittany. She looked me right in the eyes and said, "Why would I care about your stupid letter?" I believed her. I thought I had just misplaced it somehow. I was so stressed with school and work and everything else. I was working 30 hours a week at a diner to save up for college because my mom said she couldn't help me. Tom said I needed to learn responsibility. Brittany said I should just get a real job instead of pretending to be an actress. So I was exhausted all the time. It made sense that I would lose something important. That's what I told myself anyway. But the letter never turned up. And when I called the admissions office to ask for a replacement, they said they couldn't send another one without a formal request, and it would take weeks, weeks I didn't have because I needed to respond by the deadline. So I panicked. I cried in the school bathroom between classes. I called my dad, but he didn't answer anymore. He never answered anymore. I felt completely alone. Brittany came to me the day before the deadline. She had this soft look on her face, this gentle, almost caring expression I had never seen before. She sat on my bed and put her hand on my knee and said, "I'm so sorry you lost your letter. That really sucks. Have you thought about maybe taking a gap year? You could work and save up and reapply next year. It wouldn't be the end of the world." I thought about it. I really did. But something felt wrong. My gut was screaming at me. I just couldn't figure out why. So I called Northwestern directly and explained the situation. They were surprisingly understanding. They said I could still accept the offer by email and they would send the paperwork later. I felt a wave of relief so strong I almost passed out. I accepted the offer on November 15th. I have the email saved in a folder I will never delete. It says, "Congratulations again." It says, "Welcome to the Northwestern family." I cried happy tears in the school library while Brittany sat next to me pretending to study. She didn't know I had already accepted. I hadn't told anyone yet. I wanted to wait until the paperwork came through officially. But the paperwork never came. Weeks passed, then months. I called the admissions office every week. They said they were processing everything and I should be patient. They said they had my acceptance on file. They said everything was fine. But nothing ever showed up in the mail. No welcome packet, no housing forms, no financial aid information. Nothing. I started to get nervous. I called again in January. The woman on the phone sounded confused. She said there was a problem with my address. She said they had sent everything to a different address, a P.O. box I had never heard of. I told her that wasn't my address. She said, "Well, that's the address we have on file. You changed it in December." I felt my blood turn cold. I asked who changed the address. She said it was done online through the portal. She said the person would have needed my student ID and my date of birth. I asked her to read me the name on the account. She said the name was mine, but the email on file had been changed too. She read me the new email address. It was Brittany Rose at some email service I didn't recognize. I hung up the phone and sat in my car for an hour. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just sat there with my hands on the steering wheel, staring at the dashboard. Everything started clicking into place. The missing letter, the fake sympathy, the suggestion to take a gap year. Brittany had been sabotaging me from the beginning. She changed my address in the system. She changed my email. She probably intercepted the original acceptance letter that night while I was sleeping. She went into my room and took it off my desk like it was nothing. I drove home in a daze. When I walked through the front door, Brittany was sitting on the couch watching TV. She looked up at me and smiled. That perfect fake smile she had been giving me for months. I stood there looking at her, and I swear I saw something flicker in her eyes. Guilt, maybe, or fear. But it was gone so fast I almost missed it. I didn't confront her right away. I went to my room and closed the door. I called Northwestern again and explained everything. The admissions counselor was quiet for a long time. Then she said they would investigate. She said they took fraud very seriously. She said I should gather any evidence I had. I started digging. I found old emails. I found screenshots of my portal before the address changed. I found a receipt from the post office showing a P.O. box rented in my name, but with Brittany's signature. I don't know how she pulled it off. She must have stolen my ID or forged my signature. She was always good at that kind of thing. She could mimic anyone's handwriting. I took all of it to my mom. I laid it out on the kitchen table. The evidence, the phone records. The emails, the signature forgery. My mom looked at everything for a long time. Then she looked up at me with these tired eyes and said, "Are you sure about this? Brittany wouldn't do something like that. She's family." Family. That word made me want to throw up. I said, "Mom, she stole my future. She stole my acceptance letter. She changed my address. She pretended to comfort me while she was destroying my chance at my dream school. That's not family. That's a monster." My mom shook her head. She said, "You're overreacting." She said Brittany was just jealous. She said I should let it go and apply to a different school.
She said there were plenty of good colleges in Ohio. She didn't need to go all the way to Illinois anyway. I looked at my mother, this woman who raised me, this woman who held me when I cried about my dad leaving, and I realized in that moment that she had known. Maybe not everything, but she had known enough. She had known Brittany applied to Northwestern. She had known Brittany got rejected. And she never warned me. She never protected me. She just let it happen. I packed a bag that night. I didn't have much. Some clothes, my laptop, a few photos of my dad. I left while everyone was sleeping. I drove to my friend Megan's house and stayed on her couch for 2 weeks. Megan's mom was furious when I told her what happened. She helped me call Northwestern again. She helped me file a police report. She helped me find a lawyer who specialized in identity theft. The investigation took months. Northwestern said they would hold my spot if I could prove what happened. They said they believed me, but they needed official documentation. So I fought. I fought harder than I had ever fought for anything. I worked double shifts at the diner to pay for the lawyer. I met with detectives. I gave statements. I watched Brittany cry fake tears when the police showed up at our door. She tried to deny everything at first. She said I was crazy. She said I was making it all up because I was jealous of her. She told our whole extended family that I was unstable, that I needed help, that I was obsessed with ruining her life. And a lot of people believed her, because Brittany was good at that. She was good at making herself look like the victim. But evidence doesn't lie. The police found the acceptance letter in her closet. It was hidden inside a shoebox under a pile of old yearbooks. The letter was crumpled and stained, like she had been using it as a coaster. I remember when the detective showed it to me, I couldn't breathe. That letter was supposed to be the start of my new life, and she had been using it to set her drinks on. She also kept the emails. She printed them out and hid them in the same shoebox. Confirmation of the address change, confirmation of the email change, everything she needed to steal my identity. The prosecutor said it was one of the most bizarre cases of fraud she had ever seen. Most people steal identities for money.
Brittany stole mine for revenge. She was charged with identity theft, fraud, and obstruction of correspondence. Federal charges because the mail was involved. She was 18 by then, so she was charged as an adult. Tom tried to pay for a good lawyer, but it didn't matter. The evidence was too strong. She pleaded guilty in exchange for a lighter sentence. She got 3 years probation and community service, no jail time. The judge said she was young and needed a chance to learn from her mistakes. I wanted her to rot in prison. I wanted her to feel even a fraction of what I felt. But that didn't happen. She got to go home to her nice house with her nice parents, while I slept on my friend's couch eating ramen noodles for dinner every night. Northwestern let me defer my admission for a year. They said they understood the situation and they would hold my spot. I was so grateful, I cried on the phone with the admissions counselor. She was the only adult in this whole nightmare who treated me like a human being. I worked that whole year. I saved every penny. I got a second job at a coffee shop in the mornings and kept my diner job at night. I was sleeping 4 hours a night and drinking enough caffeine to kill a horse, but I was determined. I was going to Northwestern if it killed me. My dad finally called me back around that time. He had heard about what happened from one of my aunts. He sounded old. He sounded tired. He said he was sorry he wasn't there.
He said he was sorry for a lot of things. I didn't forgive him. I wasn't ready for that. But I let him talk. I let him say he was proud of me. I let him say I always knew I would make it. And then I hung up and cried for an hour because I realized I didn't need his approval anymore. I didn't need anyone's approval. I was doing this for myself. The year passed faster than I expected. Before I knew it, I was packing my car for the drive to Evanston, Illinois. I had a used Honda Civic with a cracked windshield and a check engine light that never turned off. I had 2 suitcases and a box of books and a dream that had almost been stolen from me. I didn't say goodbye to my mom. I didn't say goodbye to Tom. I didn't say goodbye to Brittany. I just left. I drove out of that driveway and I didn't look back. Northwestern was everything I hoped it would be, and nothing like I expected. The classes were hard. The people were intense. Everyone there was brilliant and talented and hungry. I felt like a fraud for the first month, like I didn't belong, like everyone could see that I was just a girl from Ohio who worked at a diner and slept on a couch while her stepsister tried to destroy her life. But I stayed. I kept showing up. I kept doing the work. I found my people. The weird theater kids who stayed up too late rehearsing scenes and eating cold pizza. The ones who understood that acting wasn't just pretending. It was about telling the truth.
It was about being honest when everything in your life had been a lie. I got better. I got stronger. I stopped flinching when someone mentioned Brittany's name. I stopped waking up in cold sweats thinking about that missing letter. I started to heal. I was a junior when I heard what happened to her. My mom called me out of nowhere. I hadn't spoken to her in almost 2 years. She sounded broken. She said Brittany had been arrested again, this time for something worse. She had been stealing money from her job. A lot of money, like embezzlement. She was looking at real prison time, not probation, not community service. Years in federal prison. My mom was crying. She said she didn't know what she did wrong. She said she tried to be a good mother. She said she just wanted everyone to get along. I listened to her cry and I felt nothing. Not anger, not satisfaction. Just nothing. That emptiness scared me more than any rage ever could. I didn't go to the trial. I didn't need to. I read about it online. Brittany had been working as an office manager at a dental practice. She had access to the accounts. She had been funneling money into her personal bank account for over a year. Small amounts at first, then larger and larger. She got greedy. She got sloppy. She got caught. The judge sentenced her to 4 years in federal prison. No probation this time. No second chances. She was 24 years old, and she was going to prison. Tom tried to call me.
He left a voicemail begging me to write a letter of support. He said Brittany had changed. He said she was sorry for what she did to me. He said she was just a kid back then. I deleted the voicemail without responding. I didn't owe them anything. I didn't owe anyone anything. My mom showed up at my apartment in Chicago a few months later. I was living in a small studio in Lakeview. I had a decent job at a theater company. I was auditioning for professional shows. I was building a life. She stood in my doorway looking older than I remembered. She had lost weight. Her hair was gray. She looked small and scared. She said she was sorry. She said she should have protected me. She knew about Brittany applying to Northwestern. She knew about the rejection. She knew about the jealousy. She said she thought it would blow over. She thought Brittany would get over it. She didn't think Brittany was capable of what she did. I asked her if she knew about the letter, the one Brittany stole from my desk. My mom looked at the floor and said nothing. That was my answer. She knew. She knew the whole time. I asked her why she didn't tell me, why she didn't make Brittany give it back, why she didn't call the school herself. She just shook her head and said, I wanted you two to be sisters. I wanted us to be a family. I closed the door in her face. I didn't slam it. I just closed it slowly and locked it. Then I leaned my forehead against the wood and cried. Not for her. Not for Brittany.
For myself. For the 17-year-old girl who had her future stolen by people who were supposed to love her. I graduated from Northwestern on a sunny day in June. My dad showed up. He sat in the back row wearing a suit that was too big for him. He looked old and tired, but he was there. He clapped when I walked across the stage. He cried when they announced my name. I didn't invite my mom. I didn't invite Tom. I didn't invite anyone from that side of the family. After the ceremony, my dad came up to me and hugged me. He smelled like cigarettes and cheap cologne. He said he was proud of me. He said he always knew I would make it. I hugged him back, and I meant it. Not because he deserved it, but because I needed to forgive someone, anyone, even if it was the wrong person. I got a job at a regional theater in Denver. It wasn't Broadway, it wasn't Hollywood, but it was mine. I performed in front of real audiences. I made people laugh and cry and feel things. I told stories that mattered. Every night when I walked off that stage, I felt grateful. Not because my life was perfect, but because I had survived something that should have broken me. Brittany got out of prison when I was 27. I heard through the grapevine that she was living with my mom, that she couldn't find a job, that no one wanted to hire a felon, that her friends had all disappeared, that her life had become small and sad and empty. I didn't feel bad for her. I didn't feel good about it either. I just felt nothing. That same emptiness I felt when my mom cried on the phone. I wondered if that made me a bad person. I wondered if I was supposed to feel compassion. But then I remembered the letter. I remembered the P.O. box. I remembered the fake sympathy. And I realized it was okay to not feel anything for someone who tried to destroy you. The last time I thought about Brittany was on my 30th birthday. I was living in New York by then. I had just finished a run of an off-Broadway show. I was sitting in a tiny apartment in Hell's Kitchen eating takeout Thai food with people who loved me. Actors and writers and directors who knew nothing about my past unless I told them. I didn't tell them. I kept that story locked away. My phone buzzed. It was a text from an unknown number. It said, "Happy birthday. I miss you. I'm sorry for everything. Please forgive me." I knew it was Brittany. I stared at the message for a long time. My thumb hovered over the keyboard. I thought about responding. I thought about telling her exactly what she took from me. The years of anxiety, the therapy, the nightmares, the way I still checked my mailbox twice a day like someone was going to steal from me again. But I didn't respond. I deleted the message and blocked the number. Then I put my phone down and went back to my friends. They were laughing about something stupid. Someone was singing along to a song on the radio. The city was loud outside my window.
Sirens and traffic and people living their lives. I took a bite of my pad thai and I smiled. A real smile. Not because I was happy about what happened, but because I was here. I made it. I was in New York doing what I loved, with people who chose to be in my life. And Brittany was somewhere else. Somewhere sad. Somewhere small. Somewhere she put herself. That's not karma. That's not justice. That's just consequences. The natural result of someone who lies and cheats and steals, finally running out of people to use. It didn't feel good to know that, but it didn't feel bad either. It just felt true. I still have the crumpled letter, the one the police found in Brittany's closet. It's in a frame on my desk. The paper is wrinkled and stained. You can barely read the words anymore, but I know what it says. Congratulations, you have been accepted. I look at that letter sometimes when I forget who I am, when the auditions get hard, when the rejections pile up, when I start to doubt that I belong in this city, doing this work. I look at that letter and I remember that someone tried to take this from me. Someone tried to steal my future, and they failed. I'm not a victim. I'm not a survivor. I'm just a woman who refused to give up, who refused to let someone else's jealousy destroy her dreams, who took back what was hers and built something real. Brittany doesn't get to have that. She doesn't get to live in my head or my heart anymore. She's just a name I used to know. Just a ghost from a past life. She made her choices, and I made mine. And every single day I wake up and choose to keep going, to keep acting, to keep telling stories, to keep being the person I always knew I could be. That's the ending. Not a happy one, not a sad one, just a real one. The kind of ending that happens when you refuse to let someone else write your story for you.